Good morning, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to A Square Talk, our theory show. Shout out to Media Net TV, shout out to the producers, shout out to management, shout out to everybody working tirelessly behind the scenes to make this happen. Just before I came on live, my guest, he asked me, he said, Ace, how are you coping with lockdown? And I replied, I said, my brother, you can lock down the body, but you can't lock down the mind, and you can't lock down the spirit. Now, today's Thursday, the 2nd of January, Thursday, the 2nd of April, 2020. And as we know, the world is currently facing an epidemic. And what I really want to do today is just calm down all the noise. People have been asking of various different things they could be doing in their house. And I thought, who's better to get on a Got Talk, a theory show, and share their knowledge and their experience and their wisdom in the areas of mindfulness than a yogi guru. So, ladies and gentlemen, without further ado, I would like to welcome to A Talk a theory show, Yogi Marlon. Welcome, my brother.
It's an honor, man. It's an honor.
Yeah. Thank you very much. So thanks for joining me this morning. We've got a lot to get through in the next hour. But I want to take things really slowly and just build things up. So as we know, there's a current epidemic going on in the world, and we're not going to go over it because everyone's getting tired of hearing the same noise and the same buzzwords being thrown around. So I'm very mindful to not even use certain language. But what is important is that we put the information out there, and we calm the mind and calm the body. So what advice would you give the listeners at home at a time like this?
I would say to remain balanced, first and foremost, because of the fact that even when we take in certain information, one can only process it through, certain states of mind. If you're constantly living in a mindset of anxiety, or if you're constantly living in a mind state of fear, then how is it that you can actually reasonably sort of say, or logically, process the information? Usually emotions are at a level where we can't, we can't heed the information that's coming to us. So we make sudden reactions, all right, instead of acting upon what it is that we have signals for, or we take our process through the Most High, or what it is that we should heed. We should heed these messages and heed these signals as not only reasons, but with proper preparation. So, to remain balanced, through these times of anxiety and through these times of perpetuated fear, I would say we need to be able to, have the tools to help us to stay balanced and at ease to some state of mind.
Absolutely, my brother. Now, what I'd like you to do is just introduce yourself to the listeners and tell them a little bit about your background, and then I'd like you to start imparting some of those tools that people can now take and practically apply when they're in their homes.
All right. Well, my name is Marlon, and being a yogi really started from making a trip. Aside across the country. I was born in New York, and I took a trip to California to study botany, to study cannabis, specifically the plant as a medicine. And I met a Zen Buddhist while I was out there, and the Buddhist taught me how to slow down the thinking process, slow down the thoughts that were incoming. And the tool that he specifically used for me was meditation. But not only did I find myself sitting down, in silence, but I also found myself meditating with the things around me, such as, the trees, such as the plants, such as a lot of different environments. I found myself in a lot of different environments where, even though the thoughts were still going, there was some sense of space. So the things that were happening around me weren't actually how my thinking was reflected. And it was me trying to find union in that, which is what yoga actually means, to find union with your internal experience to your external experience. So when I took this tool of meditation back with me to New York and back with me to travel to Florida, I have bases in all of these places, but I realized that life is so much more than just just the thinking process. Even in slowing down your thoughts, you have to go beyond uh, uh, a space in your mind where it's one thought after the other and they can't stop. Usually people have this dilemma with meditation when they say, I try to meditate, but I just can't stop thinking. And I didn't find that until I practiced meditation for about 3 years, until I found the space um, between my mind and my spirit. The body is always there because we always want to do something with the body. We always want to do our push-ups. We always want to even if it's just using the senses to watch TV or just sitting down, whatever it is that you're doing with the body is there. You know that you're here, present and alive, in this current reality. So in efforts to get space between the mind and the body, in efforts to free the spirit and really find a sense of peace beyond the thinking process. That was where I used the body through forms of movement, or through forms of usually the traditional yoga that people know as asana or movement today. Um, when I found that I could use this body as a vessel or as a vehicle in efforts to attain this spiritual upliftment or ascension, um, that's when I find a little bit of space from the mind, and suddenly the thoughts just, they don't disappear. But what happens is you create a sense of space in between the witness and the subject. All right. So even though you're perceiving what it is that you see, there's, if you close your eyes, you can still see something. So that's the technique of visualization that people would tend to use in meditation. Even though you're inside your room and it's quiet, you can still hear something. What is that voice? Is this your consciousness or is this the soul? So in efforts, like I started the show, you know, saying we have to be able to receive the signals in a balanced state. So what does this balanced state mean? The balanced state can mean, uh, you know, ultimately it means keeping yourself in a state of space or distance between your mind and between your body. A yogi would say it's bringing all of these things in union so that you can use this current reality or this current vessel as a vehicle for spiritual ascension. So, we want to be able to use these things, as our tools. We want to be able to use the body as a tool. We want to be able to use the mind as a tool. And to do these things, the current form of practice that I've used for myself is yoga. Now, yoga is a very vast subject. It's a science. I would almost go as far as to say is it's beyond science that traces back 5,000 years. And it's said to be founded in India, but from India you have the ancient Kemets, or people who called yoga Smai Tawi. They didn't call yoga, the Africans, the so-called Africans, they didn't call yoga. They called it Smai Tawi, which is basically, you see on the hieroglyphs people doing Urdhva Dhanurasana, which is basically the wheel pose, or you see Ma'at with the twist,
Yeah.
and Ma'at is the principle She has her 7 principles of balance, So an
Downward
effort,
dog.
yeah, all these things you see on the hieroglyphs,
Yeah.
Um, and of course, we found ourselves as a diaspora going um all around the world and losing language and losing culture and losing traditions. I have personally traced my roots and my heritage to India, and I have traced my roots and heritage to Jamaica. So these two places, I found family which I can connect. My mom was born in Guyana, which is in South America. I have yet to visit. I really want to visit, but my grandmother's mom from my mom's side was Indian, right? So I
Back,
grew
back,
up.
back to the yoga. We took the yoga back to Egypt. So we're just breaking down the essence of the yoga. Sorry to flow. Sorry to break
Mm,
it.
yeah, no worries. So as far as Kemet and Egypt are concerned, um, like I said, you have the poses on the hieroglyphs, but it was more than just a posture. How do you walk, right? How how's your seat? The original root word of asana means to just sit. So as far as yoga is concerned, using it as a vessel in efforts for you to attain this spiritual ascension, right? We were born here with reason. We were born here with purpose. So
Brother,
there's certain
brother,
principles.
let me, let me, let me just cut you slightly just to dissect it because you imparted a lot of pearls of wisdom there, and I thank you very much for that. But just to really break things down slightly, yoga is an amazing vessel and it's a great tool, especially at a time like this, just to rekindle a sense of balance. And you mentioned that yoga is very, very vast. It is a science,
Yeah,
and not only is it a science, it's beyond science. So just for the layman out there that's completely new to yoga, who's never experienced any yoga before, doesn't know where to start. Let's give them something that they could do very simply that can just alter their state in a click of a finger. And I've got something up my sleeve that I think we both have agreed previously works like a treat, and that is just changing your breathing.
that's correct.
Because
That's
by
correct.
changing your breathing,
Mm,
you can balance your whole physical mind and body. So let's just drop some knowledge on them and just show the listeners at home out in a heartbeat. By changing their breathing and balancing their energies, they can change their whole state of being, which is important at a time like now where people might be feeling stressed, anxiety, depressed, etc.
all right. So without the breath, there is no life, right? Prana, right? The breath is also translated as prana according to the yogis, and pranayama is basically the breath control or how you control the breath going in and out of your body. Now, the yogis go as far as to say that prana is not just the breath, but it's also life force or vitality or energy around you. So, how do you convert the oxygen into, how do you convert the air around you into oxygen into the body? This comes with a certain sense of awareness. So, first, just bring your awareness, breathing in and breathing out. These are simple things that one can do, right? Waking up and just becoming aware of the breath. So before you eat, there's a state when you wake up, before you open your eyes or uh before you even you're even becoming your visuals, right? Before you open your eyes, there's a state where you wake up in yourself and your body. So before you even do that, just see if you can breathe in and breathe out. You can notice that your breathing actually changed from your sleep state to your wake state. And that point in between those two cycles is very important because that's the part where you can change the subconscious mind. So there are certain techniques that one can use in efforts to build awareness. I have a workshop with the Garvey Village coming up tomorrow, actually, in efforts for you to kind of learn how to breathe, certain breathing techniques that can calm the body, that can balance the body. you know, just a simple one that I can mention now is called alternate nostril breathing, right? So if you're awake,
Pause, my brother.
take your
Stick
time.
a pin in that. We're going to hit them with the alternate nostril breathing, and we're going to show them how to do it. Yeah. But
Mhm.
just before we do that, I just want to add a little segment into what you're saying here. We talk about gratitude, and I talk about gratitude, and I talk about being grateful for just everything materialistically, but just being alive, just waking up in the morning. And
Yeah,
I've often said the first thing we do when we come into this world is we take a breath.
yeah,
And the last thing we do when you leave this world is you'll take a breath. And in between that, a lot of us don't pay much attention to our breathing because it's something that is done automatically. But it's so important when we're talking about gratitude, just even sitting in a quiet space and just taking in breaths in and out and just being appreciated for that. Because as much as we might take something as simple as breathing for granted, there's some people that don't even have that luxury.
yeah, yeah. They don't. I mean, people are literally on machines. You know, they have life support machines. That's actually people have sleep apnea where they have to use machines at night to pump air into their, you know, into their lungs.
That's
Um,
correct.
you know, so it's really you know, just being like you said and living in gratitude and also becoming aware, because you know there are many times, even as myself as a yogi, find myself you know, that the breath escapes you. You know, this is even a common you know, a common term, like, you know, I can't catch my breath. And you know, that goes to show that breathing is actually very involved with your emotion. You know, how is it that you can uh breathe and keep a steady balanced emotion? You know, because usually we find ourselves, if we're living in anxiety, or um if we're living in anxiety, then we're oftentimes have a short and shallow breath and we're just breathing. The dog breathes at a panting race, but the turtle breathes at a I think it's about I think it's about 3 to 5 breaths a minute. I think we breathe from 16 to 18 breaths a minute. And I think the dog breathes about 20 times a minute. And, you know, the dog lives a short lifespan. They call it dog years. The human can only live these days and times about 70 to 80 years old. And the turtle lives to about 300 to 500. So the yogi believes a person with a conscious mind, or somebody who is allowed to go beyond, you know, just the conscious mind and go into tap into forms of the spirit, that you can extend your life force, that you can extend your vitality just by slowing down your breathing and becoming more aware of uh, becoming more aware of your breath.
Interesting. Okay, my brother. So let's show the audience how to they can become more aware of their breath and the importance of balancing their masculine and feminine energy by alternative nostril breathing.
All right, so alternative nostril breathing. You want to be able to have your spine upright. The spine is the channel for the prana in your body, right? It is the main thing that controls our nervous system, right? We have the peripheral nervous system, we have the autonomous nervous system, and so basically the nervous system spreads all throughout your body, but the spine is the main channel. Think of the spine uh as the ocean, and think of the nerves and the ligaments that come up, the muscles and the joints. Think of everything else as sort of rivers coming off of that response. So basically, if your spine is upright, your shoulders are back, and your ears are in line with your shoulders are in line with your hips, right? So once you have a long spine, your back is away from the edge of the chair. You can simply take a deep breath in, exhale, simply becoming first of of the um, aware of the breath, right? Taking a deep breath in and exhale, and alternate nostril breathing basically goes like this. You can take your peace fingers, place them on the base of your thumb, or you can take your peace fingers in the middle of your forehead or the third eye, or also known as a plexus, also known as your pineal gland. And you can basically take your thumb and block off your right nostril and take a deep breath in through your left, exhale through your left, empty the air, the stale air from the bottom of your lungs, take a deep breath in through the left. You can close off your left nostril with your ring finger and exhale through your right. You can breathe in through your right, close off your right nostril with your thumb and exhale through your left. So that's one round. You can do this about 3 to 5 times in efforts to achieve a certain state of balance, not only in your body, not only in your mind, but through your nervous system, because the right nostril and the left nostril actually relate to the right and left hemispheres of your brain. So we know that our right side body is more masculine. We know that our left side body is a little bit more feminine. So we have masculine, we have feminine. Those are principles that, one should always always appease to, from as above to so below. So those are just simple techniques. Yeah, those are just simple techniques that change.
Brilliant. That was absolutely amazing, my brother. And for those of you that want to find out more about how to practice breathing techniques to balance your masculine and feminine energy, and also your mind and your body, check out Yogi Marlon's Instagram page, which is Truth in the Trees, because there's definitely a lot of truth in the trees. Shout out to everybody on the Facebook Live, put your comments in there below, and shout out to everybody on the Media Net Live, also putting your comments on the live, on the Media Live stream. Shout out to everybody there. So guys, back to what Yogi Marlon was saying in reference to meditation. A lot of people find it hard to meditate, and a lot of people find it hard to meditate because they usually say, I try to meditate, but I can't stop thinking. And I share the same values as my brother in terms of I don't actually believe personally, but I personally don't believe that meditation is about clearing your mind and just trying to blank your mind full of thoughts. It's actually about just letting the thoughts come and go as it is. And as I like to say, just calming down all the noise. Because sometimes, it's 80,000 thoughts a day. The average human brain gets 80,000 thoughts a day. That's a lot of information. And then when you add all of the WhatsApp messages that's coming through from all the different groups, you add all the social media, the Instagram, the Facebook, the notifications, that is a lot of information going into your brain in one go. I'll give you a little analogy which I like to make reference to when I personally am trying to just meditate and calm down the noise. Imagine a busy motorway, lots of cars in both directions, like the M25, 4 lanes left, 4 lanes right, lots of cars flying in different directions. Imagine your mind with that motorway, and those thoughts are like cars. And what I like to do is just take myself out of myself and you're just sitting down, staring at the motorway. And you're just observing your thoughts as they come and they go. It might seem very basic and very simple, but meditation doesn't have to be complicated. Even just sitting in a quiet space somewhere, and just switch off, just switch off. And one of the big things that I would advise people to do, and I'm a strong advocate of this, and I'm really, really mean it, it will change your life, is get rid of the TV. Chuck the TV out. Right? What's your thoughts, London Town? Right? Well, I'm telling you, get rid of the TV because, and people think that not having a TV in their house still be bored. But you'll find that as soon as you remove that obstacle, your brain automatically finds other things to do with this time. Remember, we haven't had TVs that long, guys. And I'll leave you on this one. What's your thoughts? Yeah, TV or no TV? I'll leave you on this one. Do you know that when they invented the TV, they looked at it and they said, "This will never take off. People will never sit around staring at a box. Now look, you know what I mean? People are glued to screens. Yogi Mother, what's your
Yeah.
thoughts?
Well, you see how I just changed my environment. Your environment and what you just described is literally what I was talking about earlier about the perceiver and the witness, you know? So basically, in efforts for you to kind of gain the sense of space between, because the mind controls all the senses in the body. This is sight, sound, taste, touch, feeling, and smelling. So, these five senses, ultimately are controlled by the mind. But if you have enough discipline in your life, then you can be able to, I'll make it a little bit exciting for people. When people talk about yoga, it's such a vast topic, but when you get into the philosophy of yoga, you start to learn about the cities. And the cities are basically powers to where yogis have disciplined themselves so much to the point in which they can perceive an actual reality, to the point of which they can feel an actual reality, to the point of which they can their sense of smell is like a dog's, to the point of where their taste have the five, you can begin to taste the five actual taste, salt, sour, pungent, astringent, sweet, sour. So these different tastes, these different sights, these different sounds are all controlled by the mind. But if you discipline yourself in a way where you can actually achieve some sense of liberation, a space, a sense of peace in between your witnessing just the senses and letting it, allowing yourself to react to it, just like how we talked about emotion earlier, and to the sense of where you can actually act upon that which you are perceiving. So this is also otherwise known, for simpler, people who want a more simpler expression, is the law of attraction or the law of manifestation, right? So you have to change your environment in efforts to shift and efforts to grow. So the truth is in the trees. The nature is in me is also the nature in you. But when you look at the trees outside, they don't question, oh, is this how much oxygen we're supposed to be putting into the world? Is this how much carbon dioxide we're supposed to be accepting? What it is a certain balance in between nature itself and the human life force. So, in efforts to kind of facilitate this balance, then one has to be able to understand their relationship with what it is that they're interacting with. So, during these times specifically, what I have been doing is spending more time in the garden. This, people wanted to talk about this, this epidemic and all of these things, but nobody talked about the first day of spring. Nobody discusses how we can become more self-sustainable. We've been saying the same things for years, and it seems like they just reinvent the new wheel, and then all of a sudden we're just lost on how things have come about. But to tell you the truth, nobody has built their immune system or built their discipline enough in efforts to fast. Right? Can you withdraw eating from a certain period of time in efforts to feel not only the gross the gross elements, but the subtle elements within your body? When you start to withdraw yourself from certain things in your life, then these senses become heightened. So a lot of people think it's hard to stop watching TV. A lot of people think it's hard to stop eating food, but ultimately they can't create this space or their peace or a different perspective on their life, because they're stuck doing the same thing, and there is no growth without their challenge. So challenge is ultimately used as a tool in efforts to take you to the next step in your life, whether it be you have a garden in the backyard, whether it be, which can be a meditation, whether you have an altar, which is right in back of me, whether you light some frankincense, some sage, in efforts to kind of like clean the energy around you. Not only the energy, but you're also cleaning the air through through the ions in the air. What are the negative ions, what are positive ions? We could go into all different types of sciences, but it's really just about maintaining a certain sense of discipline, a certain sense of will. And in efforts for you to achieve these things, you have to remove yourself from the gross aspects of life. So we can't demonize TV or technology, because honestly, that's where they're going with the whole 5G. But what we can do, right, is understand our relationship with it. What we can
Yeah,
do is understand where we are presently in this current space and time, and see how can we use these things as a tool in efforts to share the message, in efforts to help, hopefully help other people, because there comes a certain time in your life where you realize that this is not just about me. This is and some people take the choice of actually removing themselves from society and say, I'm going to live a life of aestheticism. Aestheticism is basically pure discipline, talking, fasting, no silence, all silence. So we want to be able to find a balance between hedonism, which is basically a life of ultimate pleasure, and aestheticism, which is basically a life of withdrawing that pleasure. So how can you find your balance in efforts to achieve a sense of state or a sense of peace? And this goes into where you are in the world.
I would simplify it by saying, for a lot of people, they need to unplug from the matrix.
Indeed, one of my favorite movies.
Unplug from the matrix, i.e., like I said, the television, the mainstream media, the mainstream news, your WhatsApp phone. And I'm not saying this for any other reason than actual genuine care, because I understand that the amount of pollution that goes into your mind shapes your very reality. I like to refer to the mind as a garden. And how does your garden grow? Is your garden, have you got a well mowed lawn? There are pretty flowers in your garden, and these are your thoughts. If you have a garden that's full of weeds, weeds only grow more weeds. So if you even some of the stuff that people share on these WhatsApp groups is trauma. They're sharing trauma. So every time you click that video and you watch that video, that's trauma going into your subconscious mind. And that constant trauma starts to have effect on your subconscious, and it shapes your perception of the world around you. The wall behind me is full of writing, because these are either positive affirmations or something that I want subliminally to be resonated in my head for the right subconscious reason. So it's about constantly putting the right information into your head. And this is why I say just switch off, because sometimes if you're too plugged into the matrix, you get polluted, you get your mind polluted with all of that mainstream jargon. And you need to decide and choose for yourself, what do I want to put in my garden? What flowers do I want to plant? And you can't do that if you're on WhatsApp, because on WhatsApp, all you're getting is what everybody's sharing. And you can't get on the mainstream TV and the mainstream news, because you're getting their narrative of what they're pumping out. The only way you can decide what you're going to plant in your garden is when you disconnect from the matrix, take time out for yourself, practice mindfulness, i.e. meditation, and then deciding what am I going to tune into, what am I going to read, what am I going to focus on, where am I going to put my mind? Make sense?
Of course. It makes sense. It makes sense to the ones and ones who will take the knowledge and actually apply it. I said something to you before the talk, and is, what is the cost of knowledge? The cost of knowledge is ultimately wisdom. It's experience. So how do you take the knowledge? Which one is listening to? You see, because even all the information that's being shared on these WhatsApp group and TV and media and all these different things, of course, they're perpetuating their agenda. But can you come into not a reactionary state, but can you come into ultimately do not react, act upon what it is that you heed for yourself? Can you make an own, can you make your own synopsis of the current days and times? Should this be a time of living in perpetual state of fear? To me, it's never really a time for that, because ultimately, we know that we have more than what we need. So you're not being a consumer to the information that's coming to you, but what it is you're actually being a producer of sharing this sharing these messages or these signals, from the Most High, or from your practice, or from these states of meditation, or from these states of peace. You're sharing that with other people in efforts for you to hopefully shift somebody's consciousness towards doing a righteous thing, living with a righteous heart, living with a light heart, living with a clear mind, You know, what is your passion? What is your vision? What are things that you've been missing out? Because if you're in the WhatsApp group all the time, you're constantly using your eyes. And, you know, it's even something with, you know, with TV, you know, something that's becoming very apparent is these rapid flashing images. And what it does is those things actually have been proven to cause epilepsy and you know, epilepsy and cerebral palsy, and basically your eyes are flashing to the point where you can't still stay still. So you're that not only does your discipline suffer, but your lack of focus suffers as well. You know, you're you're changing, you're basically changing your structure with your structure, with your chemical structure within.
Definitely. And 100% right, my brother. And in relation to this thing called manifestation, it's a word that I say and then just have to go quiet because like knowledge is something that you have to experience for yourself. But manifestation is a very powerful thing. And I keep saying to people, if you understood the power of your thoughts, you'd be very mindful what you think about. And Ace got talk. I put this one out yesterday. I'm going to put this one out again today because this one's sweet right now. People need to start thinking about what they're thinking about. You need to start thinking about what you're thinking about because your thoughts produce your reality. So when we say manifestation, this is powerful stuff here. You can literally, just like when you gave the analogy, I was smiling about the getting to the different states in the sea where salt, sour, you can actually taste and experience and feel. And I was thinking while you thought manifestation, your mind literally shapes your reality. Hence, once again, why lately, I'm not going to dwell on it, but I've been concerned about all the fear that's being pumped out there because I understand collective consciousness. And if you've got a lot of people all thinking in a very fearful manner, there's a lot of anxiety channeled into the atmosphere in terms of vibrations. There's a lot of negative energy. So we have to do something now to shift the energy and the vibration, and we do that through our thoughts.
That's right, Ace. That's right. You know, I would go as far. Let me include some more information. You know, because we can do the. You know, it's really just about, you know, people tend to usually when they soak up this amount of information, they need to let it go in some form, and you know, some people would even call it coping mechanisms. So, you know, you have a mechanism to share the post that has just been shared to you because, you know, you don't know what to do with it. Or you have a mechanism to basically emotionally eat because you don't know how to process emotion through a different means. Or you have, you know, these different ways of coping or kind of inhibiting the knowledge that is basically coming into you is a lack of changing your, not only your external environment, but your internal environment. So, you know, if you need more information about how to sustain peace and, you know, how to eat better and eat healthier, you know, what I like to ask people is what is their science? You know, what science are you ultimately studying? Because ultimately, if you tell me that you're a Rasta, I know the foundations and the principles to go back. You know, respect to all Rastas, they've been saying this for years. If you know if you know the science of being a yogi, then I know what principles to discover. Okay, Rasta, Haile Selassie I, Marcus Garvey. Okay, yogi, Bhagavad Gita, the Vedic text, India. Okay, if you tell me that you're a comedian, okay, Haru, Egyptian hieroglyphs, all these different things. Okay, if you tell me that whether you be a Christian, Muslim, all these different things, you start to realize that all these different sciences, all these different informations have a root. And what's the actual root of, you know, how it is you can use these things to apply to your life and efforts. Okay, so if I want to be more financially successful, wouldn't it make sense to read more financial books? Wouldn't it make more sense to actually surround myself around people who are not really struggling at this time? Because yesterday I was walking, I was in the market yesterday and I'm shopping. I'm like, you know, people doing all these online classes and all these different things. And I'm like, huh, there are people that's out there that actually are still working from home, still getting paid, and don't even really care about the economic collapse that's about to happen, because a lot of businesses are losing money right now. But there are certain people that are just either in a comfortable position where they have space and time to spend money, and there are people that's still making money out there that are just like, you know what, this is a little break. I'm still going to go out and I'm going to use this as a vacation time and effort for me to still support the community. But I couldn't really see it like that because, of course, the economic challenge that Black people have been placed in, of course, along the years. So, of course, we're straggling and trying to get things together. But us as a people, we need to realize not only is the power in the economic dollar, but what's the power that lies in our minds? You know, what is the power that we can actually use as a unit, as for unity, in efforts to say, okay, Ace got a show, I'm on the show. Okay, Ace got resources. You know, shout out to everything that you're doing, providing food, you know, for the people out there, for the single mothers and whoever needs it. You know, shout out to anybody who's taking these steps and efforts to not only heal themselves, but, you know, I can only heal others to the point of which I've healed myself. Shout out to everybody that's actually doing the work, you know, in efforts to sustain our sense of unity, because we can only, you know, we can only talk about it so much to the point of where it becomes redundant. You know, so you know, it just becomes about what are the pillars, what are the foundations in this community where you are right now, currently in the UK, in America, wherever you are in the world watching this. What are the tools that you have at your use right now in efforts to keep you there? Because I would even go as far to say that the strongest commodity in your life is actually the relationships that you build, you know, with people, you know. So with that being said, you know, it's with a great respect to anybody whom I have touched in my life, because I can only do that to the point of which you've touched me in my life. So, you know, I'm happy to build any more relationships. Anybody who needs any information, you know, about my services, truthandtrees.org or Truth and Trees on Instagram. We're setting up a heritage trip to Jamaica, you know, for people who may want to get out of the country as well. Because I know it's those times where people are thinking about, you know, why are we in these systems, you know, that are basically collapsing around us, and what is it that we're supposed to do? Agriculture is something that I do. Ayurvedic medicine, which is basically the principles of applying life's knowledge to grow your own food, sustainability, how to breathe, how to move, movement, body, breath, movement, mind, and breath. You know, in efforts to achieve a overall more balanced life. And, you know, not this doesn't only go to the individuals, but to the collectives as well. I'm happy here for my community.
Respect, my brother. Respect, respect. And as you mentioned there, yeah, humbly, without too much social media hype, Ace Got Talk, we set up a little help services for the vulnerable people in our community. There's a lot of single parents at home right now that haven't got the luxury of bulk buying, so to speak. So, you know, resources are running low. So we've done the best we could to make sure that many families have been fresh shopping and vegetation. And just to give you a kind of live, so you should know this is real and it's not a joke. I'm going to show you guys something quickly. Look, just as I got my phone out. Look, this was a lady that I helped this morning. Well, and we sent a box to her house. Look at her. And we click on this picture. Look, that was some. Do you see that there? That was a box of groceries that we sent to a young lady's house. And this is the kind of work we've been doing all week. So we've been collecting donations and then using the donations to support the most vulnerable members of our community. Some of them are terminally ill, some of them are single parents who get home who can't actually get out and get grocery shopping. So we've been doing that. If anyone wants to add support what we're doing, go to www.realtalkradio.co.uk and you can add a donation. Also, there's a help form on the help services page. Anyone that needs help, if you fill out that form, we'll be able to do our best to assist you. I want to just quickly share something with the audience while we're on the subject. A week ago, or in the last week, a young lady contacted me, and not everybody is doing well during these times, hence why I wanted to do this type of yogi mindful show to put out positivity and show people how they could relax, calm the noise, you know, bring down some of those stress levels and anxiety levels, the pressure etc. But a young lady called me in the last week, and she tried to commit suicide. She tried to take her own life, and that got me thinking. You know, how can I support those members of our community at a time like this? So, what can we offer those, not just the single parents that might be sitting home with kids who haven't got food? How can I reach out to those women and men in our community that are so depressed, so stressed, so down, that they're thinking about suicide, or they've attempted to take suicide? So Facebook Talk, realtalkradio.co.uk. We're just tying up the loose ends now, but we're now working with delivery partners, counselors and psychotherapists who will be offering their services for free to anybody that feels stressed or down or depressed in the community. So I'll be putting more information about that on the health services page of the website, realtalkradio.co.uk. But I just want to say to anybody out there at the moment that is feeling depressed, got anxiety, got stress, and you just want someone to talk to, send us an email and we will put you in touch with a professional.
That's amazing, Ace. You know, the work that we need it's all in one thing. You know, the work that we need in our communities, you know, goes beyond just, you know, the physical struggle, but it goes into mental illness. And you know, our mental state of mind, you know, it's it's very challenging to deal with, especially when you're in a state of solitude, because there has to become a threshold that you have to break in efforts to even become aware, in efforts to know what it is that you're thinking and what it is that you're feeling without overreacting or just reacting in general to, you know, certain states of certain states of anxiety or certain states of fear, certain states of depression, you know, that one can find themselves in you know, during these times. So, you know, when they say isolation, you know, I wrote something down, asked myself the question, why is everybody wearing a mask? You know, because I go out there and I don't wear a mask, Ace. I'm gonna just tell you the truth. And, you know, because I have my breathing established. You know, I have my prana, you know, this ultimately affects your lungs and my immune system. I have faith in that. But people are wearing masks because of the trust issues that they have with people. You know, where social distancing was only coined a term recently, but before that it was individualism, you know, and before that it was you know, capitalism that puts everybody on a hierarchy. So some people have just a regular mask, some people have a nice mask. Now, oh, you got a mask on? Yeah, me too. So I know that I'm safe, and it's a certain sense of validation. But the truth is, if you do your research, the mask isn't really for the you know, you can wear a mask if you wish, but it's more for people not spreading the disease rather than the disease kind of coming to you. And of course, you know, if you're going to be in heavily populated environments, you know, you want to be well prepared and safe, but at the same time, really allowing yourself to trust those relationships around you to say, okay, if you're not well, how are we going to help each other? You know, I have a free consultation where basically I dialogue, I give a diagnosis to basically people who are suffering from mental illnesses and people who want to basically develop a yogic practice in efforts to not only achieve healing through the body, but a healing through the mind, and heal in how to breathe, how to actually build your lung capacity so that you have the proper immune system, so that you have the proper tools in efforts to breathe better, in efforts to live better, and in efforts to move better. Because if you're stuck in the same place, sometimes I ask myself as a yogi, I want to go to the forest, you know, where nobody's at, and I could just breathe in some fresh, for some good old prana, you know, like, and that's okay, you know, for me. But for other people, it may be a little bit more challenging because they find themselves in solitude, and then these questions start to arise where, you know, mental illness is really, you know, at a height, especially in the minority communities where people don't have proper tools. So the fact that you're offering, you know, psychologists and therapists, people who have went to school for many years, you know, I'd love to be on the list myself. You know, people who have been to well traveled and around different areas and different cultures. You know, being in India, being in Jamaica, being in these different places that have exposed me not only to you know, different people, but different techniques and different ways of living and efforts for us to kind of, you know, heal ourselves out of this, you know, the time that we're currently living in, you know, as this is the life and times, not only of myself, but of everybody out there, you know, suffering through the struggle.
Definitely, definitely, definitely. And I'll be honest with you, my brother. As you know, Ace got talk. I, I say this humbly, but from the moment I won the World Motivational Speaker Competition 2019, I said, I said, motivation is a mission, not a competition. And I vowed, and it's well documented, yeah, audibly, visually, I vowed that I'll build platforms to benefit our community in a positive way. And I've continuously demonstrated that for the last 12 months consistently. In regards to Real Talk Radio, you know, Ace Got Talk, I'm the voice of the community. So everything we do it in a way that we give the people on the ground the opportunity to get their voice heard and get their story told. So I was in the process of building that platform, realtalkradio.co.uk. And for those that ain't aware of it, there's over 100 podcasts on there, you know, lots of real talk on there. We got all of the MediaNet TV, our Philly show, it's all up on there. And the list goes on. It's a multimedia platform, but during the process of building that program, obviously you see what's happened with the current epidemic. It was just a response to a demand or a need I saw in my community. You know me, Ace Got Talk, I'm always looking for what's not there and where can we fill the gaps. And I just looked around me and I saw what was missing and said, well, let's see what we can do to help support at a time like this. You know, as Joseph and many people have mentioned, where can you go if you need a bag of rice? Right now in our community, shout out to Brixton Soup Kitchen and the various different charitable organizations that are doing amazing things to keep, you know, our homeless and our vulnerable fed. So yeah, Ace Got Talk, I was just doing my part. And once again, off the back of that, I didn't set out to do it, but like I said, I got various phone calls this week from people quite distressed, and I just saw that there was actually a need to address this issue once again. And when you've got sisters calling you up that have tried to commit their own life, you say, what can I do to minimize that type of stuff going on in our community anymore? So it was only right that we put things together, and we're just tightening up things at the moment, but we put the help service together so people have got a contact spot point where they know we can go to this point, and from here we can get help. So yeah, it's talk. We're just out here doing what we do best, man, which is serving the community. Yogi Marlon, as usual, you know, that we start reasoning, and before you know at the time, just get away with us. Yeah. So I'm conscious that we're swiftly approaching the hour mark. And one thing we talked about the mind, and we talked about the breathing. And I haven't really picked your brains on this yet, but I will also just kind of finish on this and then do a summary. I noticed on your social media platforms all week, man, you've been outside stewing up some herbs and some brews and some ital soaps and some punches to really boost your immune system. So just tell us what you've been up to in terms of diet, nutrition, how you've been keeping your immune system so, and share maybe some recipes that the listeners can go away and, you know, just stew up.
Well, you know, that specifically, you know, the sip, you know, the sip that you're speaking on was made. There'll be another one being made on Sabbath, which is Saturday for the Rastas, you know, but it was made on the fire in the backyard, you know, in the garden. And you know, we ultimately you know, put some nice hard food, you know, some traditional hard food in there. No dumplings, no wheat or anything like that, but you know, you got your cocoa, you got your yam, you know, packed with vitamins and minerals. You got your carrots, you got, you know, your thyme, you know, your fresh water, you know, not from the sink. You know, water is very important to the system. So, you know, keeping yourself hydrated, you know, coconut water, fresh from the coconut, you know, you got not filtered water, not from the sink, you know, because the molecules of the water actually change. You know the study where people say I hate you and I love you to the different waters and which plant comes out best. But you have to start to realize that people eat way too much food. And if you're eating or consuming anything such as white sugar, white flour, you know, mostly white rice. You know, these are things that lack nutrition and lack value for your body. So you want to be able to substitute those with better things, you know, such as if you're going to eat potatoes or anything too hard on the system, you know, you want to be able to switch it to red potatoes. If you're going to eat, you know, if you're going to eat rice, try to switch out for a different grain, quinoa, bulgur wheat, all these different things. So you want to be able to eat less, you know. Yogis say that you should spread out about 8 minutes. I'm not 8 minutes, 8 hours of time from one meal to the next meal. You know, so don't be snacking too much in between, not allowing your system to even digest or process. If you have so much excess weight or excess mucus or excess inflammation in the body, think about taking a fast, even if it's just for 24 hours. You know, you eat at 6 p.m. at night or 7 p.m. at night, and you fast until 6 p.m. or 7 p.m. the next day. It's not that challenging. What it is a building your mind and efforts to create that discipline, create that will. You know, like I do plant, you know, I studied botany for a long time. So if anybody wants to work on their garden, please reach out to me so that you can start to grow your own herbs such as cilantro, parsley, thyme. You know, even if you're staying in the house for a long time, get your lemon trees up, get your fruit trees up. You want to be able to have lemon water or something that's acidic but has alkalizing nature in the stomach. You know, just simple methods, ginger, you know, these are things that we've been using for years and years. Our people have been using for years and years, but we need to realize that the power is not only in our relationship to the foods that we eat, but the power is us as an individual to take the knowledge that we have so much access to in this age of information and actually apply it. You know, we have the tools. A lot of these services right now are currently open for free. And you know, let us just create this sense of community and create the sense of work, the sense of trust, and build back our ethics, build back our character as people. And all I can say is, you know, for people oftentimes, you know, find themselves scattered. So the truth is in the trees because we have a root system ultimately that we know holds us together. Um, and you know, if we compare our relation, you know, if we see our relationship with nature around us, then ultimately we'll be able to find our nature within. So, namaste.
Yogi Marlon, the truth is in the tree. So at the start of this hour, I started the conversation by saying literally just before we came on air, we was waiting to go live at 11. My brother, we just there chatting. He goes to me, Ace, how you finding lockdown? And I smiled. I said, my brother, you can lock down the body, but you can't lock down the mind, and you can't lock down the spirit. You know, Ace Scott talk to the world. So, brother, this hour has been a very pleasurable hour for myself. You know, I always love reason with you. Love just, you know, just sharing the knowledge, exchanging all the little reason. You know how we do. So I thank you for your time this morning. Do you want to, before we go? Oh yeah, and by the way, in fact, really first, before you go, do you just want to do a summary? Just and just share one, two, go 1, 2, 3, maybe little gems that people could just take away and practice. It's about toolbox talks, right? It's about giving the people the tools that they can go and for those that wait for it. Wait, let me land. We talk about knowledge, right? And I was meant to pick this up earlier. As we know, knowledge is not power. Everybody says knowledge is power, knowledge is power, knowledge is power. Applied knowledge is power. So let's give them a few gems. You know, those that want to take those tools and go and apply them, they can experience the wisdom and the power that comes with them. And give us a little summary, my G.
Truth in trees. You know, follow that link. Ace Got Talk. Follow that link. Gari Village. Follow the link. Follow the links that are out there in efforts for you to heal yourself. And once that happens, once you heal yourself, you can be able to come together as a community and start to realize the power that not only you yourself as an individual have, but the power of thousands, of millions, of hundreds of people that you can touch their lives just by a simple message, just by a simple word, just by a simple meaning, because you yourself have purpose. You yourself have reason, or else you would not be here today. So, you know, it's an honor. I know I'm going to be live on the show with you on Monday. So, you know, the talk continues, Ace, as you know, so find your peace, find your balance, you know, that's what it is.
So yeah, guys, join me Monday usual time. Ace Scott Talk, MediaNet TV. Shout out to the management, shout out to the producers, shout out to the researchers, shout out to everybody behind the scenes that around the clock to make this thing happen. Ace Scott Talk, MediaNet TV. Shout out to my guest today, Yogi Marlon. The truth is in the trees. My brother just recently flew in from California, and his brother's he's got a pool of knowledge. On Monday, I think one of the things we will talk about, just to give the listeners a heads up, we'll talk about your experience in the cannabis college, because you spent a lot of, it was a cannabis college / university, you know,
Yeah,
so
it
your
was university. That's right.
agriculture and all of that. So the links are in the live chat comments, guys. You've got the link to realtalkradio.co.uk. You've also got a link to the Vulnerable Help Services page there as well. So if you guys want to support what we're doing and supporting our community, please make a donation. If you know any vulnerable people in the community, just donate, direct them towards the website. And also, if you want to see more of my brother Marlon's work, his links are in the comments below. Join me, ladies and gentlemen, tomorrow morning, Facebook Talk, MediaNet TV, our Philly show, same time, 11 a.m. Until then, stay blessed.